chosen one. Listen closely. Heaven paused to look upon you in this very moment. The air around you might seem ordinary, but in the spirit, it trembles with divine excitement. For the first time in a long time, heaven smiled, not out of pity, not out of obligation, but out of joy, because you finally did the one thing God was waiting for. You surrendered. You let go of your own way and said, "Yes, Lord." That whisper changed everything. You may not realize it yet, but all of heaven noticed. The angels leaned forward when you prayed that final prayer of release, when your voice cracked, when your tears hit the floor. It was not the sound of defeat, it was the sound of deliverance. The throne room responded with joy, and the smile of the Almighty broke through the clouds that once hovered above your life. For so long, you tried to fight battles that were never meant to be yours to fight. You carried people, burdens, and timelines that exhausted your soul. You questioned, "God, do you even see me?" And the silence felt heavy. But now, heaven answers not through thunder, not through fire, but through peace. God says, "I saw you the entire time, and this time, you let me lead." End quote. Chosen one. You need to understand what just happened in the unseen. When you released control, spiritual laws shifted. Chains that had been wrapped around your purpose for years began to snap. The very things that used to resist you are now bowing down to make way for your next chapter. That's why your spirit feels lighter. That's why peace has begun to replace panic. It's not coincidence, it's divine response. There are moments in heaven's timeline where a single act of obedience outweighs years of striving. This was that moment for you. You might not have felt fireworks, but angels saw the explosion of surrender, and the Father smiled, because surrender is heaven's language, and you finally spoke it fluently. You were not created to survive by your own strength. You were never called to force outcomes or chase validation. Your assignment was always obedience. And now that you've aligned with that call, watch what happens next. Doors that refused to open before will begin to swing wide, not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped pushing at all. You allowed the will of God to carry you instead of trying to carry the will of God. There's a kind of peace that only comes after the storm of resistance. It's not loud. It doesn't need attention. It just rests upon you, quietly, steadily, like morning dew. That peace is heaven's confirmation that you're on the right path. The smile of God is not distant, it's radiant over you right now. Listen, chosen one, heaven doesn't celebrate achievement the way earth does. It doesn't cheer for accumulation, status, or success. Heaven rejoices over obedience. It celebrates surrender. You did something most never do. You let go when it cost you everything. And that act, that quiet yes, became a sound that reached eternity. Some of you feel like you failed too much for God to smile upon you. But hear this, failure was never final in the hands of grace. You thought you were disqualified, but heaven only saw delay. And today, that delay has ended. The divine smile over your life is not based on your perfection, but on your posture. God smiles when your heart says, "I'm yours." We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 25, verse 10, "All the ways of the Lord are loving and faithful toward those who keep the demands of His covenant." This is why heaven smiled, because love and faithfulness met your obedience today. Every angel assigned to your destiny now moves in synchronization with the promise that was just activated. You didn't just make a decision, you triggered a divine sequence. Chosen one. Take a deep breath and let that truth settle in your spirit. You no longer walk under the shadow of striving. You walk under the smile of God. From this moment forward, things will not look the same. When you pray, heaven will answer differently. When you move, peace will go before you. When you rest, the presence of God will cover you like a blanket of light. Don't rush this moment. Let it sink in. Heaven is not frowning at your past, it is rejoicing in your now. You are not forgotten, you are celebrated. You are not abandoned, you are chosen. If this word resonates with you, if your spirit recognizes the truth in it, then show heaven your agreement. Like this message. Share it so that others may feel what you just felt. And comment 77 below as your prophetic act, your declaration that you have chosen surrender over struggle. Heaven has smiled. Chosen one, because you finally did this. There is something sacred about the weight you finally laid down. Chosen one. Heaven watched as you unclenched your fists and let what was never yours slip away. It wasn't weakness, it was worship. You may have thought you were giving up, but in truth, you were giving back. Every burden that once pressed on your chest was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you until you learned the power of release. You see, God never designed your shoulders to carry what His hands alone can hold. Every sleepless night, every moment you tried to fix what was beyond your power, was slowly draining your strength. You've been trying to hold together things that heaven was already taking apart. You didn't lose it, God removed it. Because His mercy sometimes looks like subtraction. When you finally released that pain, that person, that situation, you aligned yourself with divine flow. The spiritual realm shifted because your release became heaven's signal. You chose trust over control. You chose peace over pride. You said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. And heaven replied, Good, now I can. That's when everything started to change. The weight you carried was never ordinary. It was attached to years of disappointment, rejection, and misunderstanding. You learned to smile while breaking, to serve while bleeding, to love while being overlooked. But God was watching the whole time, not with judgment, but with compassion. He knew that when you finally laid it down, the pressure that was crushing you would become the platform that elevates you. Chosen one. This is why the release felt so heavy, because you weren't just letting go of what hurt you, you were letting go of who you thought you had to be. You were letting go of your false strength. Heaven smiled. Not because you cried, but because your tears were holy. Every tear became a testimony written in invisible ink upon the pages of eternity. When God looks at you now, He doesn't see brokenness, He sees trust. And trust is the purest worship there is. You've been trying to carry your calling, but your calling was never yours to carry. It was always His. And now that you've released it, the anointing can flow freely again. You will soon notice how different the air feels when the burden is no longer yours. Peace will walk with you into rooms where anxiety used to dominate. Joy will quietly take the place of sorrow. You'll laugh again. Not because everything is perfect, but because your soul is finally light enough to breathe. The enemy fought so hard to keep you bound to that weight because he knew the freedom waiting on the other side of your surrender. The moment you dropped what drained you, your vision cleared. You began to see again, not through the fog of fear, but through the eyes of faith. And heaven smiled, because the real you began to rise. There is a sound in heaven that only plays when one of God's chosen releases a burden. It is the sound of chains falling, the echo of wings unfolding. You have stepped into that sound. You have entered into the rhythm of heaven's rest. You may wonder, what happens next? The answer is peace, not the kind that depends on understanding, but the kind that surpasses it. The peace that doesn't need an explanation because it knows who holds tomorrow. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you, nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. That's the promise that surrounds your release. You didn't just let go. You made room. And what's coming to fill that space is not loss, but life. The very absence you feared will soon be filled with divine presence. Chosen one. Rest in that truth. You have not failed. You have been refined. You are not behind. You are being aligned. The weight you laid down was never yours to keep. It was a test. And you passed. Heaven smiled, not because you proved yourself strong, but because you finally stopped pretending to be. Now, move lightly, speak softly, love freely. You no longer carry what once buried you. You walk forward as one unburdened, guided by the one who goes before you. And every step you take from here is lighter, because it is no longer yours. It is his. Chosen one. When heaven took notice, everything around you began to shift. What seemed still in the natural started to move in the unseen. You may not have heard trumpets or seen flashes of light, but heaven noticed the moment your heart turned. When you whispered that small prayer of surrender, the spiritual world roared in recognition. Angels marked that hour, and your name was spoken among the faithful. You must understand, heaven is not silent toward you. You've walked through seasons that felt like abandonment, but silence was never absence. It was preparation. Heaven waits for obedience, and when it finds it, it celebrates loudly. You didn't need applause from people. You already had affirmation from the throne. Every unseen yes that you've spoken echoed through eternity. Somewhere between your pain and your persistence, God's eyes were fixed upon you. There are millions who breathe, but not all are watched like this. You are not one among many. You are marked among the few. Heaven noticed when you forgave without apology, when you loved without reason, when you stayed when it would have been easier to leave. These were the secret sacrifices that made the heavens rejoice. The spiritual realm celebrates not perfection, but perseverance. You've been tested, misunderstood, stretched, and still you didn't break. Heaven recorded those moments. You may have felt unseen by people, but your obedience lit up the heavens like fire in the dark. Angels were assigned, not because you shouted loud prayers, but because you whispered faithful ones when no one saw. It's easy to believe that heaven only notices miracles, but heaven celebrates process. Every inch you've grown in faith was witnessed. Every temptation you overcame, every battle you chose to walk away from, those are the victories that draw heaven's attention. And now, the record of your perseverance stands as testimony before God's throne. When heaven takes notice, favor begins to find you in unexpected ways. The same places that ignored you will soon recognize you, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. The light that's on you isn't self-made, it's heaven's response to your endurance. There's a holy ripple effect happening now. Your quiet obedience is stirring miracles for those connected to you. The people who once doubted your faith will soon witness its fruit. Heaven's notice is not a silent nod, it's a divine declaration. This one belongs to me. End of, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. Luke, chapter 15, verse 10 declares, "There is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." End of. Chosen one. Pause and let that sink in. Heaven throws a celebration when even one soul turns. Imagine the sound when you, His chosen, decided to align your life completely with His will. The angels danced not because of your perfection, but because of your decision. Heaven's recognition isn't temporary, it's eternal. Once marked, you remain marked. That's why certain doors open easily for you. Now, it's not coincidence, it's confirmation. The favor that follows you is not random, it's royal. You've been seen by the King, and He calls you His own. You may feel small in your own eyes, but heaven calls you mighty. Don't underestimate the weight of being noticed by God. When heaven acknowledges you, no earthly rejection can diminish your worth. Every no you faced from people was simply a redirection toward divine yes. End quote. Heaven noticed your persistence in prayer when answers were delayed. Heaven noticed your gratitude in scarcity. Heaven noticed your worship when your heart was breaking. None of it went unseen. Every act of faith has been woven into a tapestry of divine remembrance. And now, heaven's eyes are upon you, not to judge, but to rejoice. Chosen one. If your spirit recognizes this truth, type "Heaven sees me" in the comments below. Not as a ritual, but as a declaration of faith, because every time you affirm what heaven already knows, you strengthen your alignment with divine reality. When you write it, you're not just typing words, you're proclaiming identity. You're saying, "I believe that I am seen, known, and loved by God." The eyes of heaven have not overlooked you. Your prayers are not wasted. Your tears are not forgotten. You are not hidden, you are being highlighted. The celebration has already begun in the unseen realm, and soon, what heaven knows will manifest in your reality. Lift your head. Chosen one. Heaven sees you, and that changes everything. Chosen one. Before the breakthrough, there was the breaking. You know that feeling well, the quiet pain that sat beneath every prayer. The nights when you wondered if God had turned away. Those moments didn't destroy you, they transformed you. What tried to break you was only preparing the soil for the seed of your obedience to take root. Heaven never wastes a wound. Every ache, every disappointment, every unanswered question, it all carried purpose you couldn't yet see. You walked through fire that others could not have survived. Some laughed at your persistence. Others called your faith foolish. They saw the cracks, but they couldn't see the covenant. You were not being punished. You were being purified. The breaking was heaven's way of stripping away everything that could not carry the weight of your calling. It was not cruelty, it was calibration. There were days you felt as if your prayers were falling on deaf ears. But heaven was not ignoring you. God was watching to see what would remain when everything else was gone. Would you still trust when the blessings stopped flowing? Would you still praise when your hands were empty? You did, and that's why you're still standing now. Chosen one. The breaking did not come to kill you, it came to reveal you. You had to be crushed so that the oil could flow. Every great purpose is birthed in private pain. What you endured was the evidence of your anointing, not the absence of it. The enemy tried to convince you that you were being abandoned, but you were actually being anointed through affliction. Do you remember those seasons when you felt invisible, unheard, unwanted? Heaven was silent, not because it was absent, but because it was working. You were being stretched beyond human comfort so that you could depend on divine strength. You had to learn that survival alone was not your destiny. You were made to overcome. Each battle was necessary. Every wound became a door through which wisdom entered. You began to see that what you lost was not wasted, it was traded for clarity. Pain became your tutor, teaching you what peace truly means. Loneliness became your sanctuary, showing you who God really is, when everything else fades. Now, as you look back, you can begin to see the fingerprints of God even in the hardest chapters. The very storm that threatened to drown you is the same storm that taught you how to walk on water. You learned that faith isn't proven in comfort, but in chaos. You discovered strength you didn't know existed until you had no choice but to stand. You were chosen for this kind of refining because your destiny required endurance. There are mantles that cannot be carried by the untested. You have been forged in hidden fires, and heaven has recorded every cry. Even when you thought your prayers were lost in the wind, angels were collecting each word. Now that the season of breaking is passing, you can finally see why it had to be so intense. God was not breaking you apart, He was breaking you open. There's a difference. When something breaks apart, it's ruined. When something breaks open, it's ready to be filled. You have been opened for greater glory. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5, "Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy." Oh, every tear was a seed, and heaven never forgets its harvest. You cried, but you planted. You suffered, but you sowed. And now, the time for reaping approaches. Joy is not a distant dream, it is the next season. Chosen one. What almost broke you actually built you. You now walk with authority that can't be taught, only earned through endurance. You carry empathy that was birthed from pain, compassion born of understanding. These qualities make you dangerous to darkness because you no longer operate from fear, but from faith. Your scars are not signs of defeat, they are proof of survival. Heaven smiles when it sees them because they tell a story of unwavering trust. You are the evidence that broken things still carry glory, that wounded hearts can still host divine fire. Now, when storms come, you will no longer panic. You've seen the worst, and you've witnessed God's hand in it. Your faith is not fragile, it's fortified. And though you may still face new battles, none will break you as before. For you now know the secret. Every breaking is a prelude to birthing. Heaven watched you crawl through seasons others would have abandoned. The Father saw you bleeding and still believing. That is why the next chapter will not be marked by sorrow, but by strength. You have passed the breaking, and now you rise in beauty. Chosen one. There were moments when heaven seemed quiet, so quiet it felt like even the wind held its breath. You prayed. You waited. and the silence stretched on like an endless night. But listen carefully. Silence is not absence. The Father's smile often hides behind stillness, just as the sun remains even when clouds cover it. So did God's favor remain, even when his voice seemed far. You didn't realize it then, but heaven was smiling while you waited. The silence was not rejection, it was orchestration. The potter does not speak while shaping the clay, he works in silence, pressing and molding with care. That's what he was doing with you. Every unanswered prayer was a touch. Every delay, a design. God was not ignoring you. He was sculpting something sacred out of your surrender. The waiting made you wiser. You began to see that his smile isn't always loud. It's patient, steady, enduring. When you were questioning your worth, he was watching with tenderness. When you were convinced you'd been forgotten, he was preparing your stage. Like a sunrise hidden behind the horizon, his glory was on its way. You just hadn't seen the light break yet. Chosen one. Think of the caterpillar in its cocoon. It looks still, lifeless even. But within that silence, transformation is taking place. The struggle in the dark is necessary for wings to form. That was your silent season. God's smile was there, unseen but constant, shaping strength within you for the flight ahead. There's a reason heaven often speaks through stillness. Words comfort the mind, but silence matures the soul. In that quiet place, God trained your spirit to hear whispers instead of thunder, to trust without visible proof. And when you emerged from that silent season, heaven smiled because you learned to listen differently. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still and know that I am God." That verse isn't just a command, it's an invitation. Be still. Because striving won't open the door that surrender will. Be still. Because God's timing is a masterpiece, not a mistake. Be still. Because heaven is not late, it's layered. What looks delayed to you is divine alignment unfolding on schedule. Sometimes, God's silence is the sound of him moving pieces you cannot see. Like a master composer tuning an unseen orchestra, he arranges every note of your story until it forms a melody of redemption. When the music finally plays, you'll understand why the waiting took so long. And when that moment comes, when light finally breaks through and your heart feels the warmth of his smile again, remember what the silence taught you, that faith doesn't grow in noise, but in trust. You have learned to recognize the smile of God, not by sight, but by stillness in your spirit. That is maturity. That is growth. And heaven celebrates it. Chosen one. If this word has touched something deep within you, take a moment, not out of obligation, but out of connection to pass the light forward. When you like this message, you're not just reacting, you're saying Amen in the digital realm. When you share it, you become a messenger, letting someone else feel what you now understand, that silence is not punishment, but preparation. And if your heart feels aligned with what heaven is saying here, subscribe, not just to hear more words, but to stay anchored in the rhythm of revelation. This space was made to remind souls like yours that they are seen, shaped, and smiled upon by heaven itself. The truth is, you are part of a divine story that deserves to be told. Your journey, your waiting, your quiet endurance, all of it matters. Someone out there is still in their silent season, wondering if God has forgotten them. You can be the whisper that says, "Hold on, He's still smiling." End quote. So, let this moment not just pass through you, let it multiply through you. Every time you pass on light, heaven sees it. Every act of kindness, every shared message of hope, it all adds to the symphony of grace that surrounds this world. The smile of God over your life is not fading, it's deepening. Every second of silence was an artist's brushstroke. Every tear, a note in heaven's song. And now that you can finally hear it, breathe it and believe it. Know this, the silence was never empty. It was sacred. Heaven smiled through the quiet. And now that smile shines through you, chosen one. There was a moment when everything changed, though the world around you barely noticed. It wasn't a grand announcement or a burst of thunder from the sky. It was quiet, subtle, almost invisible. Yet heaven leaned in when you finally took that step of obedience. It wasn't just another decision, it was the one heaven had been waiting for. That small act, that simple yes, you whispered with trembling faith, sent ripples through eternity. You may have thought it was insignificant. You may have doubted whether it even mattered. But obedience always moves heaven, no matter how small it looks on earth. Every act of faith, every time you forgive, every time you obey, every time you trust, when you don't understand, becomes a key in the spiritual realm. You turned that key, and the lock of delay gave way. God had been preparing that moment long before you realized it. Every detour, every disappointment, every closed door was aligning you with this one step. You see, obedience isn't always about understanding, it's about trusting. You stepped without seeing the full path, and heaven responded by clearing the fog in front of you. You didn't wait for applause. You didn't wait for proof. You just obeyed, and heaven smiled. Because obedience is the purest form of love. You proved that your faith is not rooted in outcomes but in relationship. When you moved, heaven moved with you. When you said yes, angels were dispatched. When you acted in faith, doors began to shift in your favor. That single step was not just an act, it was a declaration. You declared that God is worthy to be trusted, even when the details don't make sense. You declared that your future belongs to Him, not to fear. And heaven heard your declaration loud and clear. There's something powerful about obedience. It carries sound, even though you didn't hear it. Heaven did. That sound traveled through the spiritual atmosphere, announcing your alignment. The heavens recognized it as the sound of faith, and the earth will soon echo its results. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." End quote. That verse is your confirmation. Chosen one. What you did, what felt small, unnoticed, unseen, was not in vain. Heaven saw it. Heaven recorded it. Heaven rewarded it. The seed you planted through obedience has already begun to sprout in places your eyes haven't reached yet. You may not see fruit immediately, but it's growing beneath the surface. Just like a seed buried in soil, your obedience is germinating in secret, and soon, at the right time, it will break through the ground, undeniable and radiant. God is faithful to multiply what you surrender. The step you took set a precedent for your future. You will no longer hesitate when heaven calls. You will no longer delay your destiny with doubt. This was your crossing point, the line between believing and becoming. The next seasons of your life will flow differently because obedience opened the gate. The enemy once tried to convince you that obedience was loss, that following God meant missing out. But you now see the truth. Obedience is gain. Every no you said to your flesh became a yes to your future. Every time you walked away from comfort, you walked closer to calling. Heaven celebrates not just your action, but your alignment. You are now in rhythm with divine timing. The delays that once frustrated you will soon make sense, for they prepared you to walk at the same pace as heaven. You didn't miss anything, you matured into it. Chosen one. If your heart bears witness to this word, type 888 inches, the comments below. 8 is the number of new beginnings, and your obedience just birthed one. When you write it, you're not performing a ritual, you're declaring alignment. You're saying, I'm ready for the new that obedience has unlocked. Your small step triggered a spiritual shift that can't be undone. You've proven that you're not ruled by fear, but by faith. And now, heaven's favor will follow you with precision. The next doors won't open by striving, they'll open by sequence, because you finally did what God asked. The flow of His plan can now move unhindered. Heaven is proud. The Father smiles, not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. That's all He needed, your willingness. And because you gave it, everything changes from here. Chosen one. Your obedience did not end with a single act. It began a chain reaction. The moment you said yes to God, heaven released movement into areas that had long been still. Your one choice became like a stone dropped into still waters, sending ripples of divine purpose outward, touching lives you may never meet. What you did in secret is now echoing across generations. You see, obedience never stops at you, it travels through you. It becomes a living current of grace that flows beyond your lifetime. The step you took wasn't just for your blessing, it was for others connected to your destiny. Heaven knew that your courage would create space for someone else to believe again. You didn't just shift your own life, you shifted atmospheres. There are people right now feeling the tremors of your yes. They don't even know your name, but they'll feel the impact. Some will find courage because you chose obedience over fear. Others will encounter freedom because you refused to remain silent. Heaven's economy never wastes obedience, it multiplies it. When Abraham obeyed the voice of God, he had no idea nations would be blessed through his faith. When Esther stepped forward in trembling courage, she didn't realize her act would preserve generations. You stand in that same lineage, the ones who obey without seeing, the ones who trust without knowing the end. Heaven looks at you and calls you by that same name, faithful. You may wonder why the effects of your obedience sometimes feel slow. It's because heaven doesn't move on earthly timelines. The ripples are still moving outward, crossing into territories beyond your reach. Your obedience has activated divine order, and heaven is ensuring that everything attached to your yes finds its proper alignment. Chosen one. Understand this truth. What flows from you now carries authority. Your words carry weight because they are backed by obedience. Your prayers pierce the atmosphere differently because they rise from a yielded heart. The heavens respond not just to what you say, but to who you've become a vessel in harmony with divine will, your obedience is building invisible bridges. Somewhere, someone struggling in silence will walk across those bridges because you were willing to obey first. Your yes becomes a pathway others can follow. The world needs light bearers who move beyond comfort, and heaven saw that in you. There is also another layer of this ripple, the blessing that comes back to you. Obedience doesn't just bless others, it circles back with increase. You sowed trust, and heaven will return it as favor. You gave faith, and heaven will return it as fullness. You stepped forward with trembling hands, and God will steady those same hands with purpose and power. Sometimes you won't even recognize how far your ripple has gone until much later. You'll meet someone who says, "Because of what you did, I found hope again." Or you'll walk into a new season and realize doors are opening in places where your faith once prayed. That's the harvest of obedience. It works quietly, but it never stops working. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. You refreshed heaven's heart with your obedience, and now heaven refreshes yours in return. The same way you poured out faith in uncertainty, heaven now pours back abundance in unseen ways. You may not yet feel it fully, but the tide has already turned. Your ripple has entered divine circulation. The things that once resisted you now recognize your authority, because obedience aligns you with heaven's rhythm. Creation itself begins to cooperate with your destiny. Where there was resistance, now there will be release. Where there was delay, now there will be divine acceleration. Chosen one. This is why the process mattered so much, because only the surrendered can carry the ripple of heaven without breaking under its weight. God had to build depth within you before releasing width around you. He had to ensure your foundation was obedience, not pride, so that the blessing could multiply without distortion. Now, the ripple continues. It moves through your family line, rewriting stories. It moves through your workplace, carrying peace where chaos used to live. It moves through your words, touching hearts that have forgotten how to hope. Every time you remain faithful, the ripple expands. You have become a living river of divine purpose, no longer stagnant, no longer trapped. Your obedience opened the dam, and now heaven's flow will never cease. The waters of grace that began with your yes will keep moving long after this season passes. And when you finally look back, you'll see what heaven saw all along, a pattern of faith woven through every decision, every act of courage, every step of trust. You'll understand that nothing you did for God was ever wasted. Every ripple was recorded, and every act of faith became part of heaven's great design. Heaven smiled, not just because you obeyed, but because your obedience continues to breathe life into the world. The ripple has begun, and it will never end. Chosen one. The moment you chose obedience over comfort, something powerful happened in the spirit realm. It was not visible to the natural eye, but heaven saw it the instant where unseen chains began to break. The air around your destiny shifted. Every shackle that once held your progress hostage started to tremble at the sound of your surrender. Because where obedience stands, bondage cannot remain. For years, the enemy tried to convince you that freedom would come from doing things your own way. He whispered lies into your heart. If you let go, you'll lose everything. But heaven always knew the opposite was true. Your letting go was the key to your liberation. You were never meant to live confined by fear or trapped by the weight of yesterday. You were always meant to walk in divine liberty. When you finally made that decision, when you said, "God, I'll obey, even if it costs me," every spiritual chain that had attached itself to your soul began to fall away. Fear lost its grip. Guilt began to melt under the fire of grace. The invisible walls that kept you small started to crumble. You didn't just break free, heaven broke through. Freedom is not just the absence of chains, it's the presence of purpose. And that's exactly what you've stepped into. What once bound your mind, your emotions, your confidence, now lies shattered at your feet. You are not the same person who walked into this battle. You emerged, purified, lighter, crowned with clarity. This is what the enemy never wanted you to see, that the moment you surrendered, you became unstoppable. The devil cannot hold what belongs to obedience. He can threaten, he can delay, but he cannot destroy what God has already liberated. The same hand that led you through the fire has also written your victory in heaven's book. Chosen one. Sometimes freedom feels strange at first. When you've lived bound for so long, liberty can be uncomfortable. The silence where fear used to scream can almost feel empty. But that emptiness is not loss, it's space. God has cleared the clutter to make room for new glory. The chains fell, not just so you could walk, but so you could run. Remember the prison of thoughts that used to confine you, the endless cycle of worry, shame, and doubt. They were never your home. They were a battlefield. And now that heaven has claimed the victory, you can finally breathe in peace. The air of freedom might feel unfamiliar, but it's the very atmosphere you were born for, where the Spirit of God moves. Captivity cannot remain. It's not possible. The fire of divine presence consumes bondage like morning light consumes shadows. Every step you take now is a declaration that freedom is your inheritance. The blood of the Lamb purchased it long before your struggle began. And obedience simply unlocked what grace already promised. The Apostle wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 17, "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." Mate, that is the truth governing your new reality. The Spirit of the Lord is with you, therefore. So is freedom. Every time you worship, the atmosphere shifts. Every time you pray, light expands. You are no longer a captive trying to escape. You are a victor walking in release. Heaven celebrates this moment, not because it is the end, but because it's a beginning. Freedom is not a single event. It's a continuous unfolding. Each day you choose obedience. Morshan dissolve. Each time you forgive, another lock falls away. Each time you trust, another gate opens wider. Don't be surprised when people no longer recognize you. Freedom changes the posture of your soul. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you discern it all carries the fragrance of liberty. You used to shrink to make others comfortable, but now you stand tall, radiant, unapologetically chosen. You are no longer a reflection of your wounds. You are a reflection of your deliverance. The enemy may still whisper reminders of your past, but they hold no power now. His words echo. In an empty cell, you've already walked out. The door is open. The chains are broken. And the key is in your hand. All that remains is to keep walking forward. Chosen one. Freedom is your permanent state now. The breaking has happened. The release has been declared, and heaven's seal rests upon you. What once held you cannot hold you again. What once silenced you cannot mute you again. You have stepped into the wide open space of grace, and there is no going back. Heaven smiled when the chains fell, because in that moment, the Father saw his child rise, not as a captive, but as a conqueror, chosen one. When heaven rejoices, creation itself begins to vibrate with holy sound. There is laughter in the divine realm, not mockery, but delight. God's joy is not passive, it is living, breathing, contagious. When you chose surrender, when your obedience aligned perfectly with divine timing, heaven erupted in song. The joy of the Father is unlike anything the human heart can fully comprehend. It is not a quiet smile, it is a thunderous celebration, a wave of glory that ripples across eternity. You may imagine heaven's joy as soft light or gentle peace, but it is more powerful than that. When God rejoices, galaxies expand. His delight releases energy into the universe, for all creation was designed to respond to his emotion. And recently, that joy was about you. For years, you walked through hardship, unaware that heaven was watching your endurance with affection. Every time you chose love over bitterness, mercy over judgment, patience over pride, God smiled. Every time you whispered a prayer instead of giving up, heaven's laughter filled the corridors of glory. You thought your moments of faith were small, but in heaven they were monumental. You may have imagined God as distant, solemn, always judging, but his nature is joy. Scripture says, "The joy of the Lord is your strength," and that joy is active right now. Heaven doesn't rejoice in your pain, but in your perseverance. The Father delights not in your perfection, but in your posture, your heart turned toward him. That's what sparked the celebration. The prophet Zephaniah painted the picture clearly. God rejoices over his people with singing. Can you fathom that? The same voice that spoke the stars into being now sings over you. His song carries healing. His melody carries meaning. Heaven's choir joins in, echoing the theme of your redemption. You have become a living lyric in God's song of love. It is written in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will delight in you, rejoice over you with singing. That verse is not metaphor, it's reality. Heaven is currently rejoicing over your transformation. The angels that once guarded your path are now dancing in victory, because what the enemy meant for destruction became your defining moment of destiny. Chosen one. Imagine heaven's laughter as rainfall, soft yet unstoppable. It covers the dry places of your soul, bringing life where there once was despair. You can feel it even now, that quiet gladness stirring in your heart. That's heaven's joy being mirrored inside you. When God rejoices, his people feel peace. When God laughs, his chosen find rest. Heaven's joy has also begun to attract favor toward you. Where there was resistance, there is now recognition. The same doors that once remained closed are beginning to move, not because of your effort, but because divine favor is drawn to divine joy. You are walking under the sound of God's laughter, and that sound disarms darkness. It's no coincidence that since your surrender, peace has begun to replace panic. Opportunities have begun to whisper your name, and grace seems to appear in places that used to feel hostile. Joy is heaven's way of saying, "Well done. You have made the Father proud." This is why the enemy fought so hard to keep you bound in guilt, because guilt silences joy. But now that the chains are gone, your spirit can dance again. You don't need to understand every detail of what's ahead. Just live in the rhythm of divine joy. You were never meant to walk heavy. You were meant to walk radiant. Chosen one. Joy is your inheritance. The same joy that raised Jesus from the grave is now awakening your spirit. You've entered the part of your story where mourning ends and music begins. You'll find yourself smiling for no reason, laughing without explanation, feeling peace in places that once carried pain. That's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Heaven's laughter has entered your atmosphere. If your heart feels this truth stirring within, type, "God delights in me," below. Let that declaration be your agreement with heaven's song. When you write those words, you're not just commenting, you're echoing the chorus of eternity. You're saying, "I believe the Father's joy includes me." Every letter you type becomes a note in that divine melody, joining heaven's laughter with your own voice. Chosen one. Never again see yourself as a disappointment to heaven. You are a delight, a reason for joy in the heart of your Creator. The Father smiles not because of what you've done perfectly, but because you've chosen to return completely. Heaven laughs in triumph. Angels rejoice. And grace overflows because you, His chosen one, finally believe that His joy truly includes you. Chosen one. Heaven has recognized your name. Your journey has not gone unnoticed. When you obeyed, when you trusted in the unseen, your name was spoken in the courts of heaven, declared before witnesses both celestial and eternal. You were recorded among those who did not retreat in fear but advanced in faith. Every act of perseverance, every hidden victory, was written in divine ink. You must understand this. Heaven keeps records not of possessions or achievements, but of obedience. It remembers faith, humility, and love. When your heart said yes while trembling, when you showed kindness while wounded, heaven took note. That's why you are now walking under a new measure of recognition. You are known not just by name, but by essence. There are scrolls in heaven filled with stories of those who refused to bow to fear. Your name has been added among them. When heaven recognizes someone, the earth must eventually follow. That is why certain doors that once resisted you will begin to open without struggle. It's not luck, it's lineage. You belong to the record of the faithful, chosen one. You have become like a lighthouse in the spirit. Your obedience sends out beams of light that guide others through their storms. You may not see how far your glow reaches, but ships in the dark are steering toward your example. That is what heaven's recognition does. It transforms one person's endurance into another person's hope. You might ask, why me? Because God saw that your heart would hold the weight of His favor without pride. The recognition of heaven is not for status, but for stewardship. The light upon you is meant to illuminate others, not to glorify self. Every time you lift someone else, you magnify heaven's glory. Every word you speak in love adds brightness to your crown. The ancient words recorded in Revelation, chapter 3, verse 5, remind us, the one who is victorious will be dressed in white. I will never blot out their name from the book of life, but will acknowledge them before my Father and his angels. Your name is acknowledged. Chosen one. It is not merely known, it is celebrated. You stand clothed in the garments of grace, recognized before the throne as one who overcame. Heaven is not distant from your story, it is invested in it. And as heaven recognizes you, the world will begin to sense that recognition too. People will feel peace around you without knowing why. Doors will open that you didn't knock on. Provision will appear before you ask. Because recognition carries reward, not as payment, but as partnership. God rewards what reflects his heart. You have been a mirror, reflecting faith in the face of uncertainty. Now heaven mirrors that reflection back to you through favor. Every good thing that flows toward you now is not random, it's response. Heaven always returns what it sees in obedience. Multiplied and magnified, chosen one. If this message has found your heart and spoken to the quiet corners of your spirit, pause for a moment. Take a breath and recognize how far you've come. You're not the same as when you started. You've grown. You've endured. You've matured. Heaven has seen it all. If your soul bears witness to these words, consider this simple act, like this message, not as an algorithmic gesture, but as an act of gratitude. It's your way of saying, thank you, God, for remembering me. Every like becomes a light, signaling to others that heaven still sees and still rewards faith. And when you share this message, think of yourself as a river carrying living water downstream. You're not just spreading words, you're sending healing to someone's drought. Somewhere, someone needs to know that their name is not forgotten in heaven's story, and your sharing can be the whisper that reminds them, to those who feel stirred to go deeper, to keep walking this path of faith together. I invite you to subscribe. This space is not just for messages, it's for movement. It's a gathering of the chosen, a sanctuary for hearts awakening to divine purpose. Stay connected, because heaven is still writing your next chapter. And for those whose hearts feel moved to donate, understand this. Giving is not about money, it's about partnership. It's planting into the soil that has nourished your spirit. When you sow into messages that feed souls, heaven multiplies that seed, like rain returning to the clouds that poured it. Your generosity returns to you in unexpected blessings. Every contribution, large or small, helps carry this light farther. You become part of heaven's distribution system, ensuring that those still in darkness will feel the warmth of divine truth. Chosen one. You are seen. You are valued. You are recognized by heaven itself. And now, heaven invites you to reflect that same love outward, to be a mirror of grace, a vessel of hope, a carrier of the light that once carried you. Let this truth settle deep in your heart. Your name is not written in pencil, to be erased. It is engraved in eternity. Bold and beautiful. The King himself smiles when he speaks it. Heaven recognizes you, and that recognition will continue to open paths you never imagined. Keep shining. Keep trusting. Keep giving, because you are part of heaven's great unfolding story. Chosen one. Every fire you've walked through has not been wasted. It was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to refine you. You may not have understood the heat while you were in it, but now you can look back and see how every spark served a purpose. God allowed certain flames to touch you, not to burn, but to purify. And though it hurt, heaven saw the beauty in your endurance. The refining fire is one of heaven's deepest mysteries. It's not punishment, it's preparation. When gold is refined, it must endure intense heat until everything that isn't pure rises to the surface. That's what has been happening to you. The situations that once felt unbearable were pulling out impurities, fear, doubt, self-reliance, so that what remains in you is unshakable faith. You've wondered, why me? Lord, why so much pain for one heart? But God knew the weight of what He placed inside you. The greater the destiny, the hotter the refining. You carry a light that needed to be tested by fire, so that when the winds of adversity come again, it will not flicker, it will stand. The refining process doesn't look glorious while it's happening. It often looks like loss. You lose comfort, control, sometimes even people. But what you gain is immeasurable clarity, strength, depth. You start to see the world differently, to value what truly matters. The person you were before the fire couldn't carry what's coming next. That's why you had to change form. There were moments when you thought you'd reached your breaking point. You cried. You prayed. You begged for relief. And yet, the fire kept burning. You thought heaven was being cruel. But heaven was being careful. The flame was measured never too much, never too little. It was calibrated to cleanse without consuming you. You were never alone in the fire. The fourth figure was there, standing beside you, just as he was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The Word of God declares in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver. No, notice the detail. He sits. The refiner doesn't leave the fire unattended. He watches, eyes fixed on the silver, waiting until his reflection appears on its surface. That's what God was doing with you. The fire was never about punishment. It was about producing His reflection in your character. Chosen one. You may carry scars, but they shine now. The same flames that hurt you also made you radiant. The places that were once wounds have become windows through which His glory shines. The very pain that tried to silence you has become the platform for your purpose. There's something different about those who've been through fire. They carry a calm authority, a holy stillness. They no longer chase what others chase because they've seen what truly matters. You've reached that place. You no longer crave validation, you crave presence. You no longer chase success. You seek significance. That's what the fire taught you, to trade the temporary for the eternal. And now, the glow around you isn't from striving, it's from survival. You carry the fragrance of refinement, the unmistakable aura of someone who has walked through flames and come out golden. Others can sense it, even if they can't explain it. You've become living proof that the fire can form but not finish you, that pain can purify without destroying. There is peace after fire that only the refined understand. It's the peace of someone who has faced loss and still chooses gratitude, who has been broken but still believes. That's your testimony now. You no longer need to prove your faith. It's etched into your being. Heaven smiles at those who've endured the heat, because they've proven trustworthy with the glory that follows. You are ready now. Chosen one. The fire has done its work. The impurities are gone. The gold remains. And heaven's reflection is clear in your life. This is your refinement season coming to a close. The fire has subsided, and in its place stands someone stronger, purer, and wiser. You no longer fear the flame, because you've learnt it's not your enemy, it's your elevator. Every degree of heat lifted you closer to heaven's purpose. You are no longer marked by what you lost in the fire, but by what survived it. And what survived is divine. Chosen one. The moment your obedience reached maturity, something turned in the unseen, a prophetic turnaround. The season of hiddenness that once wrapped around you like a cloak has lifted. What was once covered is now being called forth. For a long time, it felt like nothing was moving, like your prayers hit invisible walls, like heaven was silent. But all along, things were shifting beneath the surface, preparing for this divine unveiling. Heaven never forgets a promise. Delay was never denial, it was design. The time of waiting shaped you so that when this turnaround came, you would be ready not just to receive it, but to sustain it. The doors that once resisted are now opening in sequence, perfectly timed with your growth. What once seemed lost is returning, refined, multiplied, and transformed. The turnaround doesn't always come as a sudden flash. It begins subtly, like the first light of dawn. It creeps into your life softly, bringing warmth where coldness lived too long. Opportunities begin to whisper your name. Peace replaces exhaustion. You start to feel grace flowing again, where stagnation used to suffocate your spirit. Heaven is rearranging things in your favor, piece by piece, quietly but powerfully. You might not notice it immediately, but everything is aligning. The people who left had to go for the new ones to find you. The closed doors made room for divine entrances. The silence made way for clarity. And now, heaven is saying, it is time. Time for the promise to unfold. Time for hidden seeds to bloom. As you step into this turnaround, remember, it's not luck, it's legacy. You've entered the portion of your story where the waiting ends and the revealing begins. The same way Joseph went from prison to palace overnight, so too will your situation shift. But it will not catch you off guard, because the wilderness has prepared you for the weight of the promise. The ancient words written in the letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, declare, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Chosen one, the proper time is here. Heaven's clock has struck in your favor. Every good deed, every faithful moment, every unseen act of love has matured into harvest. You are now walking into fields you once only dreamed about. Where you once sowed with tears, you will now gather with joy. The prophetic turnaround is not just external, it's also within you. The fatigue that once clouded your heart is being replaced with fire. The doubt that whispered in your ear is being silenced by certainty. You no longer wonder if you are chosen, you know it. You walk differently now, not from pride, but from purpose. Heaven has shifted the atmosphere around you. The obstacles that once intimidated you are about to cooperate with your destiny. What resisted you will now resource you. What mocked you will soon marvel at you. This is the paradox of divine turnaround. God uses what opposed you to elevate you. Chosen one. This is not just another season. It is a divine transition. The version of you that entered the waiting room is not the same one stepping into fulfillment. You have been refined, trained, and positioned for this moment, and heaven delights in unfailing you. Not for fame, but for function. You are being placed where your light will matter most. You may feel the stirrings already, the urge to move, to create, to speak, to step out again. Don't resist it. That's heaven signaling the shift. You have been hidden for protection, but now you will be revealed for purpose. You are no longer waiting. You are walking into what was prepared long ago. Chosen one. If your spirit feels this stirring deep within, type 9,999 below. It is the number of completion, the sign that a cycle has ended and a new one begins. When you comment it, you're not typing digits, you're declaring alignment. You're saying, Lord, I recognize my turnaround. I step into what you've prepared. Heaven hears declarations of faith. The prophetic turnaround responds to agreement every time you acknowledge it. The shift deepens, the path clears, and the promise quickens. You are not wishing for it, you are walking in it. Your turnaround is not coming, it has begun. Heaven has flipped the script. And now the very chapters that caused you pain will become testimonies of purpose. You are moving from obscurity to visibility, from delay to destiny, from hope deferred to promise fulfilled. And as heaven watches, the Father smiles, not because you arrived, but because you endured. Chosen one. When light breaks through darkness, it rarely does so quietly. There is always a sound, a tearing, a trembling, a shift. Heaven's light does not ask permission from shadows. It commands them to move. That is what happened when you chose to obey. Your act of faith, your simple yes, became a torch in the unseen. What once felt heavy and hopeless began to glow with possibility. You might not have realized it, but the light inside you has been growing steadily. It began as a spark, small, fragile, hidden beneath layers of doubt and disappointment. But even a spark, when protected by faith, becomes a flame. And your flame has now become a beacon. You no longer simply survive the darkness, you transform it. The light you carry is not ordinary, it's divine residue. The reflection of heaven's presence within you. It carries the power to expose lies, to break confusion, to warm the cold hearts of others. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way people feel peace around you. The way conversations shift when you speak from your spirit. That's the evidence of illumination. For so long, darkness tried to define your identity. It told you that you were forgotten, that you were small, that you were unworthy. But now, the light exposes those lies for what they are: empty echoes. You are not forgotten, you are chosen. You are not small, you are significant. You are not unworthy, you are anointed. The darkness was only loud because it feared what was being born inside you. When heaven's light breaks through, it doesn't erase the night instantly, it expands gradually, allowing your eyes to adjust. God doesn't reveal everything at once because He wants you to grow into your glory. The light you now carry is both a gift and a responsibility. It calls you to walk with integrity, to live as one who reflects heaven's radiance. You are becoming a walking sunrise. Everywhere you go, the atmosphere changes, not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. The presence of God within you is the same power that spoke light into existence at the beginning of time. It doesn't need to strive to shine. It simply is. The darkness around you cannot extinguish it. It may try to dim it through distraction, fear, or weariness, but light cannot be overpowered by what it was designed to defeat. Every challenge you've faced has only made your glow stronger. Every attack that tried to silence you has instead amplified your clarity. That is the mystery of divine radiance. Pressure doesn't crush it, it concentrates it. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, reminds us, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Oh, that verse isn't poetry, it's prophecy. It describes your very life. You are living proof that no darkness, no betrayal, nor failure, no trauma can extinguish what God Himself ignited. You were never meant to fit in the shadows. You were destined to reveal the light. You've noticed how your perception has changed. Things that once attracted you no longer do. You can sense darkness now, not to fear it, but to bring light to it. God has refined your discernment because He trusts your illumination. You carry His torch into places others avoid. That's why the battles felt personal, because the darkness recognized you before you recognized yourself. Chosen one. Understand this deeply. Light is not merely for display, it's for direction. It shows the way for those still wandering. You are not called to shine so others can applaud. You are called to guide so others can find home. Your life is a living signpost pointing upward. You've become the embodiment of grace that glows. The evidence that God still transforms dust into destiny. The more you surrender, the brighter you become, and that brightness will attract both those who are hungry for hope and those uncomfortable with truth. But remember, even when moths gather near, stars never stop shining. The world will feel your light before it understands it. Some will call it peace, others will call it presence, but you will know it is heaven breaking through you. That's why you've endured storms that seemed senseless. Every storm cleared a path for the sunrise within you. Now, when you walk into rooms that once felt oppressive, the atmosphere bends toward peace. When you speak, tension dissolves. When you pray, walls weaken. That's what happens when heaven entrusts someone with light. It becomes contagious. You are no longer the one looking for light in others. You are the one carrying it for them. Chosen one. Never underestimate the power of what you carry. You don't have to strive to shine, just stay connected to the source. As long as your gaze remains fixed on heaven, your flame will never fade. The light that broke your darkness now burns in you for others. That's your calling, your legacy, your miracle, and heaven smiles. For you have become what the world desperately needs, proof that darkness never wins. Chosen one. There are sounds in heaven that human ears rarely hear, songs of celebration, woven with light, echoing through eternity. Those sounds are not abstract, they are personal. They carry names, stories, victories, and among those melodies now plays your name. Heaven sings when obedience births transformation. It is not a distant choir humming far away. It is a living vibration that passes through creation itself. Right now, that vibration includes you. Imagine, if you can, the moment heaven began to sing over your surrender. The angels who once guarded you through every battle now dance in joy. The saints who overcame before you now smile in recognition because they understand what this moment means. You didn't just survive, you aligned with the rhythm of divine will. That alignment always triggers heaven's music. When God rejoices, It is not a mere expression, it is creation, rejoicing with him. The stars shimmer brighter, the winds soften, the earth exhales peace. It's as if all things that once groaned under the weight of delay now sing because you've stepped into purpose. The very atmosphere around your destiny hums in harmony. This is the mystery of heaven's celebration. It's not about accomplishment, it's about alignment. Heaven doesn't sing when you build something grand or when you finally feel successful. It sings when your heart beats in sync with God's. That's the sound echoing right now. You've learned to walk to heaven's rhythm, and the universe responds with worship. Chosen one. For so long, you felt invisible. You gave. You loved. You served quietly while others were seen and celebrated. But now, heaven sings for the one who remained faithful when no one was watching. Your name has reached heaven's song list, not because you were loud, but because you were loyal. You may never hear the melody with your physical ears, but your spirit already recognizes it. That's why lately, peace feels deeper, like music without words. That's why joy sometimes appears for no reason. It's the echo of heaven's chorus breaking through your atmosphere. We hear of this divine music in the words of the psalmist. It is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 150, verse 6. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord. That is what heaven's celebration truly is. Every breath of creation praising the one who restores, redeems, and reigns. And your life, chosen one, has become one of those praises. Every heartbeat, every act of grace, every whispered prayer is now part of the great symphony of heaven's joy. In heaven's eyes, you are not simply a listener, you are part of the orchestra. Your perseverance adds rhythm, your forgiveness adds melody, your worship adds harmony. You don't just receive heaven's song, you contribute to it. That's why your presence carries weight. Wherever you go, you bring a piece of that divine music with you. Heaven's celebration doesn't end. When the music fades, it continues through the life that provoked it. The angels that rejoiced at your breakthrough now accompany you into each new step. They are heaven's musicians, following the rhythm of your destiny, ensuring that the song never stops. When you speak life into someone who feels forgotten, the music swells. When you forgive someone who wounded you, another note joins the harmony. When you worship in silence, heaven's song crescendos. You may never see the notes, but you can feel their vibration in your spirit every time love wins over pride. Heaven sings louder. There are times when the world's noise tries to drown it out, the chatter of doubt, the clamor of comparison. But even then, heaven's melody remains steady underneath. The world may not celebrate you, but heaven already has. And that celebration will soon manifest as favor, peace, and strength in your daily life. Chosen one, understand this truth. Heaven's song is not an ending, it is a beginning. When God sings over you, it's His way of declaring, the old has passed, and the new has begun. Heaven doesn't waste its voice when it sings. It seals. Your obedience has sealed this new season. The melody of your destiny has shifted from mourning to dancing, from waiting to walking, from hiddenness to heralding. And though you may never hear the full sound this side of eternity, one day, when all is revealed, you'll realize that every moment of silence you endured was just heaven taking a breath before singing your name. Heaven's song continue. chosen one, and you are its reason. Chosen one. The crown that rests upon your head right now is not made of gold or jewels. It is made of endurance, of tears transformed into triumph, of faith that refused to die in the dark. You wear something invisible, yet radiant. Forged in the fires you once prayed to escape. Heaven calls it glory, but you might know it better as peace. It sits quietly, humbly, but the spirit realm recognizes it instantly. Every battle, every betrayal, every lonely night has been woven into that crown. Each scar became a gem. Each hardship became metal melted and reshaped by grace. When you thought you were losing, heaven was crafting. You didn't realize it then, but you were being measured for royalty. You are crowned not because you conquered through strength, but because you endured through surrender. You chose faith when doubt was easier. You chose forgiveness when anger felt justified. You chose to keep walking when your feet were weary and your heart was raw. And heaven saw it all. Every decision built the foundation for your coronation. There is a moment in heaven's timeline where the crown is placed not by angels, but by the King himself. It happens not when life becomes perfect, but when the soul becomes steadfast. You've reached that moment. Chosen one. You stand now as one who has been tried and found trustworthy. Crowned in glory does not mean you stand above others. It means you carry heaven's authority with humility. You have become a bridge between pain and promise, between human frailty and divine faithfulness. Your story is now a throne for others to rest upon. The apostle wrote in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "There is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord will award to all who love his appearing." That promise now breathes through your life. You wear not just your own crown, but the reflection of generations who prayed before you. The mantle on your shoulders carries weight, not the burden of fear, but the beauty of responsibility. Heaven's favor doesn't come to make you comfortable, it comes to make you capable. Chosen one. The world around you may not see the crown, but they will feel its presence. When you speak, peace will follow. When you walk into chaos, order will emerge. When you stretch out your hands, restoration will flow. This is what it means to be crowned with purpose. You carry the touch of heaven wherever you go. And if this word has stirred your spirit, take a moment to breathe and reflect. You've come so far, not by your own strength, but by grace that refused to let go of you. If you feel that gratitude rising in your chest, let it move you to act not out of obligation, but out of connection. When you like this message, you're not just clicking a button, you're lifting your torch. You're joining thousands of other chosen ones who say, "Yes, I see the light. I wear the crown." It's a small gesture, but heaven recognizes even the smallest acknowledgement of truth. When you share it, you become a messenger of crowns. Somewhere out there, someone is still in their battle, unaware that glory is being formed from their struggle. Your share might be the whisper that gives them strength to keep going. You're not spreading content, you're spreading courage. And if this sanctuary of words has become a resting place for your soul, consider pressing subscribe, not for algorithms, but for alignment. Stay connected to the current of heaven's voice. This space is not entertainment, it's oil. It keeps lamps burning in the night. For those who feel a deeper pull, annaggiato donate. Understand this. Giving here is not about charity, It's about legacy. It's the act of sowing into soil that bears fruit for eternity. Every offering becomes a ripple, extending light into unseen corners of the earth. It says, God, I invest where you've spoken to me. Lo, and when you've done so, take a moment to comment below. Let your words carry presence. Maybe it's a short note, I receive, or I am crowned. Whatever it is, let it be your written worship. Comments in this space are not noise, they are echoes of faith, woven together into a chorus. Heaven hears. Chosen one. Never underestimate what your agreement does. When you engage, when you bless, when you give, you strengthen the very bridge that brought you here. You keep the oil flowing for others who will find this same light in their dark hour. So wear your invisible crown boldly, not to draw attention, but to draw others to the light. Move gently, speak kindly, and let your peace announce your presence before your words ever do. The crown you carry is not fragile, it's eternal, and heaven smiles, watching you walk with grace, knowing the journey was worth every tear. You are proof that endurance always ends in glory. Chosen one. Walking in the smile of God is unlike anything else. It's not about the absence of trials, but the presence of peace that cannot be shaken. It's the sense that everything around you, every circumstance, every encounter seems touched by divine timing. You begin to notice that what used to feel random now feels orchestrated, that the very air you breathe carries an unseen favor. This is what it means to move beneath heaven's smile. When God smiles, things align, roads straighten, conversations become catalysts. People appear at the right moment with exactly what you need, not by coincidence, but by command. The smile of God doesn't just bring blessings, it brings order. It places you at the center of divine choreography, where every step you take finds purpose. This favor is not loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, like sunlight warming a room without sound. You might not notice it at first, but others will. They'll see the ease around you, the peace that follows your decisions, the way closed doors no longer intimidate you. That's not luck. It's the evidence of divine approval. Chosen one. You've entered a stage of grace where striving has ended. You no longer need to chase what was already written for you. You've learned to trust that if God smiles upon you, no force can undo his blessing. There's a serenity that comes from knowing heaven is not just watching, you are walking in rhythm with it. The smile of God is not a momentary glance. It's a continual state of blessing. It means his presence walks beside you. His favor surrounds you, and his hand upholds you. You no longer walk in fear of failure because grace has already paved your path. You no longer fear rejection because acceptance has already crowned you. Sometimes, this favor feels subtle, like finding peace in a place that used to hold pain, or hearing clarity where confusion once ruled. At other times, it's obvious, doors swinging open, prayers answered swiftly, burdens lifted suddenly. But in every form, it carries the same truth. God is pleased. Heaven doesn't smile without reason. The Father's delight rests where trust dwells. You've given him your trust, and he's responding with assurance. He is reminding you that his pleasure is not performance-based. You don't have to earn what love has already given. You have become like a tree planted beside living waters. You no longer worry about drought because your roots go deep into divine joy. When others fade in dry seasons, you'll still produce fruit, not because of effort, but because of connection. That's what the smile of God does. It sustains beyond seasons. It was written long ago in the book of Psalms, chapter 5, verse 12. For you bless the righteous, O Lord. You surround them with favor, as with a shield. That favor is your covering now. It shields you from unnecessary battles, softens the impact of blows meant to break you, and draws blessings that others can't explain. You've stepped into the flow of divine ease, not a life without work, but a life where work and worship move as one. This favor isn't only for your benefit, it's also for your influence. Wherever you go, the atmosphere changes because the smile of God follows you. It's not arrogance, it's anointing. People may not know why they feel peace around you, but they'll remember it. That's the power of a life favored by heaven. It preaches without words. Chosen one. Take note of what's happening around you. The same situations that once drained you now seem to yield results. The tasks that once exhausted you now flow naturally. Even your relationships are being realigned. Those who cannot walk with peace are gently moving out of orbit, while those ordained for your next chapter are finding their way in. The smile of God doesn't need applause. It simply exists, constant as dawn. It carries assurance that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what heaven needs you to do. And though challenges may still appear, they no longer intimidate you, because you've seen the difference between trials that test and trials that teach. You've learned that favor isn't about escaping difficulty, it's about walking through it untouched by despair. That is the true mark of those who carry heaven's smile. They face storms but remain still. They encounter conflict but keep calm. They move through chaos carrying quiet strength. Chosen one, this is your new posture. Calm, confident, covered. The days of striving are over. You walk not in haste but in harmony. Not in panic, but in purpose. The smile of God is upon you, and wherever that light falls, nothing remains ordinary. You are favored, surrounded, and seen. Heaven is not merely watching, it's walking with you. Chosen one. Heaven's joy does not fade, it deepens. What began as a whisper has now become a rhythm that guides your steps. You've come full circle, from struggle to surrender, from obedience to overflow. This is the resting place of divine fulfillment, the moment where all of heaven's delight meets your earthly walk. You are living proof that obedience brings not only reward, but eternal joy. Heaven's joy is not like human happiness. It doesn't rise and fall with circumstance. It is anchored in truth, steady as eternity. It is the sound that fills the throne room when a child of God completes what was written for them. It is the echo of satisfaction in the heart of the Creator, who sees his reflection in his creation and calls it good once more. You are that reflection. You have become what heaven dreamed of, a vessel refined, responsive, radiant. The Father looks upon you and smiles, not just for what you've done, but for who you've become. Every act of faith, every unseen choice for righteousness, every moment of quiet worship has built a symphony of joy that heaven will play forever. Chosen one, look at how far you've come. Once, you were weighed down by fear, by uncertainty, by the endless striving to be enough. But through every fire, through every silence, through every call to trust. You have been transformed. You now move differently, not from pressure, but from peace. You are no longer chasing God's approval, you're walking in it. The eternal joy of heaven flows through you now. It is not a fleeting emotion, but a state of being. You carry it in your spirit, in your words, in your presence. This joy is what sustains those who've chosen to remain faithful when the world lost faith. It is what sets the chosen apart, the quiet glow of contentment that comes from knowing they are aligned with eternity. Eternal joy is heaven's inheritance for those who obey. It cannot be stolen, diluted, or delayed. It remains, because it's built not on outcomes, but on relationship. You no longer serve for reward, you serve from revelation. You no longer seek favor, you carry it. This is the transformation the Father longed to see the moment his child stops striving to please him and starts living as one already loved. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 23, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord." And this is that moment. Chosen one, the invitation to enter, to step fully into joy, not as a guest, but as family. The doors of heaven's delight have opened, and you are welcomed not for your perfection, but for your perseverance. Heaven's joy isn't merely something you feel, it's something you've become. The journey you walked wasn't only about victory, it was about transformation. You learned that divine joy is birthed in the soil of surrender. You discovered that real faith is not about escaping trials, but embracing God through them. And now, every step you take radiates with the quiet confidence of one who knows they are loved, chosen, and complete. Eternal joy isn't loud. It hums softly beneath your life like a holy heartbeat. It is what steadies your soul when the world trembles. It is what allows you to bless others from abundance instead of need. And though storms may still pass, they will never unsettle you again, because joy has taken root too deeply to be uprooted. Heaven's smile over you now is permanent. The Father doesn't just visit your life, He inhabits it. You have become a dwelling place for joy itself. A temple not built by hands, but by obedience and trust. The fragrance of your faith rises continually before Him, and in return, His joy flows endlessly toward you. Chosen one. The world will see the difference. They will wonder why you glow in the dark. Why you speak with calm in chaos. Why your laughter carries peace instead of pride. They will sense the eternal in you, the evidence that you've walked with heaven and survived its fire, that you've tasted grace and chosen to live in it forever. So walk on, not as one seeking to arrive, but as one who already belongs. Every sunrise will now feel like a continuation of heaven's smile. Every night will close with the echo of divine laughter. You are not merely blessed, you are a blessing. Not merely chosen, but completed. The script of your obedience has become a song that will never end. Heaven's joy is your new language, and eternity, your new rhythm. You have entered the dance that never ceases, the joy of the Lord, written across time and sealed upon your soul. Heaven smiles still. Chosen one, and it will never stop. Chosen one, if this message has spoken to the quiet corners of your heart, take a moment to breathe in what you've just received. Let it settle. Let it anchor. You've journeyed through surrender, refinement, revelation, and joy, and now you stand beneath heaven's smile, crowned with peace. If your spirit felt the weight and wonder of these words, consider sharing that light forward. When you like this message, it isn't just a gesture, it's a ripple. It tells heaven, I heard you. When you share, you extend that same whisper of hope to someone still wandering through their night. You become the bridge between their despair and their dawn. Leave a comment below, just a word, a phrase, even an emoji. Every echo of gratitude written here becomes a chorus of faith that heaven reads like worship. And if this sanctuary of words has nurtured your soul, subscribe to remain in the rhythm of heaven's voice. Stay close to the flow. More words will come not to entertain, but to remind you who you are, chosen, covered, and unshakably loved. Heaven smiled because you arrived here. Keep that light moving forward,